I work as a user experience designer for the Colorado Digital Service for the state of Colorado. And this is my first role in the government, and I really hope that it's not my last. Yeah, what made me get into the technology field is a complex journey, right? One of the things that I want to say is I don't think that there's one way a person can get into tech. Most importantly, I think there's this weird stigma that you've got to be development or code minded to understand or work in technology, and that's really not the case. I don't have a coding or a technology background. I think it's helpful, but I don't think that it's realistic. I got into technology a little bit backwards. I've got a background in psychology. I worked in school as a part-time comic strip author, and I picked up the tech pieces as I started my career as a user experience designer. And I started my career in UX because I was really desperately trying to figure out how to find a place to work in a way that spoke to my needs to make things that helped people. And there's tons of roles like mine that are tech adjacent that are really desperately needed, like product management, project management, which is a different thing, as well as things like content writing or instructional design. And these things aren't necessarily dedicated to the code or the development of a system itself, but they're no less a part of the citizen's experience with a digital service. Oh, my favorite part about working in tech is the people, all the people. And I don't think I could be a UX person without really explicitly calling out that I love working with people, like collaborating alongside them and getting to know everyone from who we serve alongside on the Colorado Digital Service and people who work at the state of Colorado and the day-to-day users of the services that the state provides. I think that is my favorite part. And I think additionally, my other favorite part here is like making the ability to have bring impact to a person's life and advocate for their needs from a user-centered perspective, and knowing that like oftentimes designers get a lot of autonomy and trust and freedom in the work that we do as we're creating a lot of these proposals and mock-ups and services, and knowing that because I have that responsibility and that autonomy, it means that I can really design intentionally and bringing alongside people who look like me or don't look like me or are otherwise underrepresented or marginalized to the forefront of the work that we do is like freaking cool. And I think that is my favorite part about working in tech is not the tech pieces, it's all the things that can complement the tech pieces to make technology better for everyone. What attracted me to government work was the need to feel like something that I did mattered. I was honestly tired of creating designs that seemed like they were only utilized to sell something or otherwise be a commodity. And I wanted to bring the skills of design into a practice that I felt like was more geared towards empowering others and enabling them to be not only more human centered, but also to do something that it just felt a little bit different and a little bit out of what I was comfortable with. And to seek to be deeply uncomfortable is a fundamental part of working in the government for sure. I'm still quite new in my tenure at the Colorado Digital Service, so I joined just a couple months ago. So I can't say that I have too many projects under my belt right now, but I'm having right now a very great time working with the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment on our new paid family leave program that passed last year. And I think this is so great because we're at the beginning of this process, and I'm working really deeply with our policy person, Lydia, who I adore to the moon and back, where we're interviewing employers at the state and also speaking with other states about their experience for those who have come before us and instituted paid family leave programs as well. And that ability to cross collaborate, cross pollinate ideas in the public sector has been just freaking awesome. And people are so open and giving, and they're trying to do their like ding dang best, right, to serve all of us, and being able to work with people who haven't worked with technologists before, or who have technologists who are so deeply ingrained in their organizations already, and learn from them has been really really cool. Something that I wish I had known before I joined, like if I had a magic wand and I could make a one wish, is that I wish I knew way more about procurement. So there's so much operations in the procedure of providing government services, the vendor management, the contracting, and it can seem sometimes like Byzantine and really intense to understand. But I have two colleagues on my team, Janelle Schaefer and Stephanie Kane, who really helped me to understand that this partnership between procurement and user research is actually quite natural, and seeing how we can bring in impacted users into that procurement process was really inspiring. So I think understanding all those different dimensions and complex layers of the government itself is quite difficult and something that I wish I had known, but I think learning it as you go has been also quite interesting as well, because you can come at things that are institutional with a lens that is fresh and really new. So far, what has impacted me the most in working in the government sector is the openness and the willingness. And I think when you go into government work, there is already sort of a reputation that you're stepping into something that maybe people think are unfixable, but they're actually, every human problem can have a human solution. And it's really cool to see how open everyone is to collaborating and sharing stories and working with one another, and inviting people who aren't maybe traditionally in a public sector into their space. And I just love being a part of that. That has left a big personal impact on me. Such a great question and such an existential one. Um, would I? Yes, I think I would, but I would hypothesize that it might be a little bit harder. And the reason I say that is because the work that I do, it's it's about bringing human-centered perspectives into technology work, right? And if the administration was not as deeply routed in understanding those human problems, that could be really hard for the work that I have to do day to day. So what I try to do is bring those human problems, processes, motivations to light. And honestly, the only way that they can be a catalyst for change is if people at the top are really wanting to do something with that learned information. So I think the answer is yes, but I would need like a lot more coffee and happy hours. So, why is it important we have technologists in government? I would like to reframe that a little bit, because I would argue that we already do have technologists in the government. There are people every day who are serving the information technology needs at the federal, state, municipal services. They may not look like the what we're used to coming in from the private sector, working in the product space, but we've got things like the Office of Information Technology for the state of Colorado and existing agency teams that do exist. So I would argue that technologists already exist in the government, but what is important is that we have technologists with different and diverse backgrounds coming in from the private sector into the government, so that we are able to help move these government services to the needs of the everyday citizen, who I think right now we expect like a higher level of quality, speed, and delivery of all of the services, right? I want to be able to prime now my DMV. But that's what we're trying to do here, as we move people who are not traditionally in roles in the government into the government space. And I think my last point here is that I really want to emphasize that this is such an opportunity to bring in and enable technologists from other backgrounds and marginalized groups into the government, so that we aren't perpetuating and recreating more systems that perpetuate that inequity that we're seeing. What would I say to other technologists who are contemplating joining the government? I would say, come on in. The water is cold, kind of harsh, but like once you get up to your belly button, I think you're pretty good. So it's going to be hard. It's different. It's very, very different. You're going to have to explain everything that you do to an audience who may or may not know what you do, other than that they've heard the term agile in a training before. But I think it's really important to emphasize that you are not, and you will never be alone. I would say if anything that I've said so far has resonated with you, I think you know what the tickle that's in your soul is telling you. Don't ignore the call. Do the thing. Don't regret not doing the thing. Ooh. So many civic tech heroes. I think you got a couple of mine on your show already, so I'm not going to name too many. They're big names, right? Like Sid Harrell or Megan Smith. But I think if I were to amplify the heroes that I see in my life and who I actually look up to, it would be cheesy to say, but they are members of my team. I think about Kelly and Matthew, our director, deputy director, Janelle, Karen, Heidi, Steph, Chad, Michelle, Riley, everybody that we work with, because these are the folks that I get to work alongside in the trenches as we are trying to make a big change for the state. And I would also think that our agency partners and our colleagues at the Office of Information Technology, these are heroes as well. Nothing is better, I think, in life than waking up and realizing that you don't have heroes to look up to. You have heroes that work alongside you.